what's in the stars, and cards for you this week. If you have been at a crossroads trying to make a decision, but have been unable to do so because you don't have all the information, you're hoping and wishing for the best outcome, the universe is going to give you a little nudge. So, welcome to the weekly energy weather report. It is my joy to jump in and share with you. We always start off with tuning in and just seeing what's the most important thing that you need to know, the message you need to hear going into this week ahead. And I want to make sure of one thing that you can all hear me. So as you hop on, say a quick hello. Let me know where you're watching from. All right, here we go. And placing your hand on your heart, tuning in and just asking, what's the most important message that you need to hear in this week ahead? And we go ahead and we just pull a card to see Nine of Wands. So the Nine of Wands is don't give up. You've got this. You are so close. You may not be able to realize it. When this card comes up, I always think of running a marathon. Not that I've run a marathon, I've run a half marathon, but you're running those 26 miles and you're like, oh, that's it. I've had it. I can't do it anymore. That's why those mile markers become so important. They let us know where we are on the path. And, if you see these beautiful wands, it's kind of the markers, like how far you've come. And running that marathon, what it's saying when this card comes up is you were almost there. You only have a tenth of a mile to go. The finish line's right around the corner. Don't let go yet. Keep going. Have faith. She's strong. You see how she has her chin up? Deep down inside, she knows she can make it. Sometimes it's just that matter of saying, okay, I only have this much farther to go. Look at where I've come from. And that's the thing about this week is that we don't know how much farther we have to go. We don't know how much longer it's going to take. So that's where the faith needs to come in. That's where that connection with your friends in high places, as I call it, God, universe, your angels, your guides, becomes so vitally important. Starting your day, and this is something that is so near and dear to my heart, but my puppy's coming in to join us. I always encourage you when you start your day to start your day with that simple little prayer. May God go before me and show me the way. May angels watch and protect me throughout the day. Because you have free will. And because you have free will, it is important that you ask God, your angels, to come and assist you. Otherwise, your free will be honored and you won't receive that assistance in the same sorts of ways. That's next step then is we start to pay attention to the intuitive hits and signs and signals and nudges we get throughout the day. So let's talk about this week ahead and the sacred practices you can use to harness the energies all around you, whether you're working with the rhythm of the moon or just tapping into the subtle, sweet energies around you. Okay. And hey, if we haven't met, my name's Irena Miller. I'm a spiritual life guide, what I call an energy alchemist and an astrologer. And it is my guide to have you here to share with you the sacred practices that help you step into the life that you were born to live. Welcome, Julie. Welcome, Hannah. I'm so happy that you're here and that you found me this morning. Okay, talking about the week ahead. If we look at the energy of the week, we kick off together with a new moon. Happy new moon, friends. New moon club members. Keep your eye on your email for information on our new moon ceremony. We're going to be getting together soon for that. I believe it's tomorrow. I'll send it out in an email, though. My mind is kind of somewhere else with that right now. Then, as we kick off the new moon, Monday, moon starts to grow in light. And as the moon is growing in light, your energy is going to start growing. So the overarching energy of the week is plant an idea and a seed with this new moon energy, which doesn't happen until late this evening, 11:02 p.m. tonight Eastern. So if you're across the pond, it's actually early in the wee hours tomorrow morning. Friends on the West Coast, it's about 8 p.m. So with that being said, that new moon energy, some of us might even be asleep. I was up really late last night. I was up till 3. We're having friends over today, family for Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day. So I feel a little loopy. I'm not used to staying up. Well, these days, who knows? When the spirit moves you, you follow. But this energy with the new moon is a great way to kick off the week. Plant the idea. Tune in to the information coming your way. And we're going to take a deeper look at that in a minute. As the moon starts to grow, you want to start to just investigate, okay, I've got this new moon idea. I've got something I want to work on, part of my project, my plan. You're just going to gather data and information. And kicking off with the Gemini energy is a great way to do it. So let's talk about this week ahead, day by day. We'll talk about each moon, how you can really tap into that energy and stop kicking yourself and blaming yourself for feeling one way or picking up something else. And then how to engage maybe with a sacred practice with that energy to help you make the most of it. Because part of what I love to do here is not just spout off the energetic weather and say, oh, well, the moon is in Taurus and then it's in Gemini, and you might feel like this or that. That's great. But it's also nice to know what action can I take in order to make the most of this moment so I don't feel like life is happening to me. That's what I really, really love to do, and why I've been studying these sacred practices for 30 years, which is to say, okay, we can take a little bit of this and a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of yoga, maybe a little bit of crystals, maybe a little sound healing, maybe a little energy healing, maybe meditation, maybe the cards, maybe the astrology. It's my joy to bring these together. So Monday morning, we wake up, the moon is in Taurus, and Taurus energy, you might be feeling good, wanting to take it slow, enjoy yourself. It's great for our friends in the States. Happy Memorial Day. For many, it's a holiday in honor of our loved ones and all those who have stood up and fought and protected our country. It's a special weekend for me. This is the weekend my mom transitioned into heaven. Actually, Memorial Day at high noon. It goes back a ways ago. But anyway, we remember our loved ones. So Monday, Taurus new moon, you might not feel like, Monday, Taurus moon, we wake up to a Taurus moon, you might not feel like moving quickly. As we get later to the evening, again, it's late, that new moon in Gemini, but you might feel that Gemini moon coming in. Gemini moon's going to be moving faster. So we'll talk about that Gemini moon energy with Tuesday, but let's ask, how can you make the most of Monday? All right. So Monday's energy, the world. The world is a remembrance, a coming of full circle. It's a completion, an ending. So with the moon in Taurus and with the world card coming up, I want to invite you to slow down and take a moment to pause and realize how far you've come. This is very nice to receive, since we have that Nine of Wands kick off and say, what's the most important thing I need to know? And here's the other thing about the Nine of Wands is that she's trying to cross the finish line with all of those wands, with all of those projects. And if you've ever run a race before, at the beginning of the race, if it's cold, you might be wearing layers like a coat or a hat or gloves. And many times what I've noticed on the racetrack with more accomplished runners is they'll shed their clothes and they'll leave them at the side of the road. And then people will come by and it's almost like a donation. It's part of the culture, I guess. And I'm not a full-time runner, so it's just something I observed. But they'll shed their clothes as they go. And that Nine of Wands card that came up earlier is encouraging you. Do you really need to carry that much to get across the finish line? If you've been tired and if you've been exhausted, what might you be able to let go of or put on the shelf to come back to at a later time? Because success and completion are available. You might just be trying to do too many things at once. And here's how that dovetails into the new moon energy. So let's talk about Tuesday and where you might really begin to feel that new moon energy. Because the new moon is, if you think of a full moon like a wave coming into shore, you feel it coming in. And the new moon is like the wave receding. So you kind of feel it more after the event. That's why with new moon ceremonies or rituals, I love to do them right at the apex, like right when it happens or a little bit after, rather than early or before. It doesn't have the same kind of potency or energy behind it. So with the Tuesday new moon in Gemini, the new moon in Gemini, what's happening is it's information Gemini. It's ruled by Mercury. It's communication. It's, I don't know that I'd say details. It's a little bit more Virgo-like. But with all this information and data coming in, it can be overwhelming. So I want to give you a moment to really note that if your mind is racing with all of that details, all the details and information, if you've been carrying too many projects, trying to do too many things at once, I encourage you, what would it look like to simplify or streamline? And when you take that moment to streamline, it will clear up your mind so it won't be swirling around this project and that project and jumping from one place to another. That also makes it very difficult to make decisions when we have too many choices or too much information, data overwhelm. The other half of my degree, decision sciences, data sciences, is how do you tell the story from the data? Because data is pretty useless and meaningless unless you can see the patterns and read the story. So by taking a moment to say, all right, let me look at the data here, let me look at the patterns. If you're overwhelmed by it, you might have to change your parameters and narrow the search or refine it. And this new moon in Gemini might be that opportunity for you to say, okay, I'm going to, if my mind is racing, give my mind a job. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is a simple little yoga hand mudra where you bring your thumb tip to each fingertips. And just something like this, there's a mantra that goes along with it. You could even say an affirmation. But for right now, I just want you to take deep breaths and bring thumb to thumb to fingertip. There you go. And by doing that, you're calming the mind. You're giving yourself something to focus on. The other thing that's really good that I know that I could benefit from this moment is if the mind feels scattered and it's racing all over the place, take your hand, doesn't matter which one, and you're going to bring the base of the thumb to the center of the forehead and just draw a line from center of forehead to heart. And you can do that 3 times. I love that. For me, it's a way to call my spirit home, to become more present in the moment. And a girlfriend of mine showed me that long time ago when everyone was feeling scattered. And we said, how can we focus? How can we come back to present? And she said, do this. And I thought, wow, that really works. Like I feel more in my heart and more in the moment. And curious, I started researching it and trying to figure out, because I couldn't ask her, where does this come from? What does this mean? What tradition? And as I go down the rabbit hole, like a true little Gemini energy would, I found that it's very similar to the American Sign Language for God. I think they go to the chin. I like coming to the heart. And how amazing that is. We're going to the highest energy and vibration possible to find peace. So with this new moon in Gemini, if the mind is racing, if you've got so many projects that you're trying to juggle, do the simple practices to quiet the mind. Use your hands. It can make a difference. Okay, Wednesday's energy. Wednesday moon is still in Gemini. I've got my notes here to make sure I don't go off. Gemini energy. And Gemini is about talking. It is about socializing, having conversations, finding out more about, let's say you want to research or investigate. Gemini energy, I always think of them like the investigative journalist. I want to even know more, but why? But why? Why does this happen? So if you've got questions on Tuesday, if your mind is curious, then definitely take time to pay attention. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull a card and ask, how could you make the most of Tuesday's energy? Now, Knight of Pentacles. Take time to plan for the future. So what you are doing is you are playing the long game. What you're doing, your actions, you're not looking for it to bear fruit or reward tomorrow. You know it's going to take some time. He's also paying attention to his surroundings. He's walking outside barefoot. So he's grounded and he's present. When we're barefoot outside, we're much more aware of where we're placing our feet. We're not just running around unconnected and thoughtlessly. We have to pay attention or we'll step on something that might be a little unpleasant. So this is saying, pay attention, take your time. There's no rush, even though the moon is in Gemini and it might be like, act now, do this, go here. You're going to consciously and mindfully slow yourself down and say, there's no rush. It's okay. I can take my time, realizing also that your actions will have an effect long term. So if you are running around, if you are moving quickly, you might find that as a mind is processing, you might not have time to let it check in with your heart. And in that case, if you make a decision just out of the head, out of logic alone, you go back later and say, oh my God, what was I doing? That wasn't me. That doesn't feel like me. And a little exercise for that is before you make a decision, make sure you ground, you do your roots, you flush anything out of your space that doesn't serve your highest. You fill up with the golden light. That's the root flush fill practice I love to share with you. And just imagine like connecting the dots. You draw a line from the center of the head to the center of the heart, just to connect heart and mind before you make your decision. And these things, they sound simple, but they are powerful and they really do work. Give it a try. And Jasmine, hello, hello. Yes, my birthday. No, it's not coming up yet. My birthday is in the fall, but I have Gemini placements, is what it would be called. So I have planets in Gemini and in an area that can affect me quite intensely at times. So I can empathize with my Gemini friends out there. So yeah, it's, and astrology is a wonderful thing. One of my early teachers going back decades ago, she would teach astrology in such a way is she would very much make it unifying. So rather than us against them, like, oh, that blah, blah, blah sign, I just don't get them, or I don't like blah, blah, blah sign. I get that, right? Because I was there too. It's like, wait, I just feel like oil and vinegar. Why doesn't this work? But what I realized studying with her and going through a beautiful shamanistic type of initiation is that part of what we do while we're here on earth is that we experience each zodiac sign throughout our life in some little way, even if it's just through the moon. We can taste and touch, what does it feel like to be in that Gemini energy or that Taurus energy? I have a funny story because when I was going through the Taurus portion of this initiation process, we did a whole beautiful ceremony. And afterwards I was like, oh my gosh, I need these sparkly high heel pump shoes. Like I just got fixated on them through a little Scorpio influence. And I said, I got to find these beautiful high heel shoes. And I looked everywhere for these glittery shoes. Mind you, I wasn't quite as into the barefoot shoes then as I am now. But I couldn't believe what overcame me, just wanting this sparkly thing. And Taurus energy loves sparkly things. It loves luxury. It loves treating itself. It loves enjoying life to the fullest. Why wait? Live now. And our Taurus friends are great at showing that to us. So there are ways for us to experience each zodiac sign, whether we have a planet placed there, whether it's placed in a specific place in our chart, progress charts, even lunar returns. This is something I love doing for my clients, where every month the moon comes back to the exact same spot it was when you were born. Well, the same degree and zodiac sign. But what happens is it changes houses. And as it changes houses, your energy and focus for the month shifts. So I had a friend and her energy recently shifted the moon into the 12th house. And I said, oh, you know what? You might feel this upcoming like next 28, 30 days, like resting and retreating. You might not feel as social. You might want to be more introverted, be away from the crowds. And she said, oh my God, you're right. I had wanted to skip a lot of these meetings I was meant to go to and just attend them maybe virtually. I just didn't have the energy. I didn't want to go. I want to support people, but it's really hard to get out of the house. And by knowing that her lunar return was happening in the 12th house, she could offer herself grace and compassion, because the energy of the moment, her spirit was like, stay home, rest, just heal, step away from the world, confine yourself, rest and retreat. So really, really cool. And Hannah, happy birthday season, beautiful Gemini that you are. And you have Mercury in Gemini too. God bless. That's awesome. So fast mind. Oh my goodness gracious. So ideas, I wonder if they come quickly to you. When you have a Mercury in Gemini, Mercury is so happy because Gemini is one of his happy places. And Mercury is the messenger of the gods. He's one of the only gods that can go between the worlds, between the living and below into Hades realm. And I love the story of just Mercury going between the worlds. Anyway, conversation for another time. All right, before I get too far off track, let's talk about Wednesday. Because I don't think I did Wednesday. I did do Wednesday, didn't I? So, holy cannoli, this is what happens when I get off track. I'm going to think about, we got 9 of Wands. We got, for Monday, I remember that we got, well, that was for the week. Monday was the world. I don't think I pulled a card yet for, well, let's go ahead and pull another card for Wednesday, just in case. How can you make the most of this energy on Wednesday? 4 of Cups. Grass isn't always greener. Pay attention to what's right beneath your nose, what you've been hoping, searching, wishing for. It's right there all along. I always think of those cute rom-coms, like 13 going on 30. You've got your best friend, or, you have your home. You might have aspects about it or a job that you're like, oh, it looks so much better over there. But I'm going to encourage you, shift your perspective so that you can take a moment to see what's around you with new eyes. And a fun way to do that, if you've ever done legs up the wall with yoga, or even get on your couch and kind of hang upside down and look at things differently, or use your non-dominant hand to brush your teeth or even to write with, it will help restructure the neural networks and pathways in your mind. So it'll help you see things a little bit differently. Kind of fun thing to play with. All right, let's go right into Thursday. Thursday, the moon moves into Cancer. When the moon is in Cancer, you might feel a little more emotional. You might take things a little more personally. So I want to invite you, create protection around yourself. Make sure you feel safe, that you have a place to rest and retreat to a certain degree, where you can just cozy up, cuddle up with a favorite fur baby, blanket, book, movie. And when you do that, you give your heart and space time, or your heart and feelings space and time to be processed. A lot of times in the world, we have to move quickly, and we feel like there's not always time for feelings. I always think about that line from A League of Their Own with Tom Hanks, where he said, "There's no crying in baseball." And I laugh because having a Cancer moon personally, I can cry just about any place, anywhere, anytime. Cancer moon is emotional, sensitive, intuitive, very empathic. So doing grounding practices on Thursday will really, really behoove you and help you. Take time to get outside if the weather is welcoming to it, barefoot, hand on a tree, hug a tree. It can make a difference. And we're going to ask, how can you make the most of that energy on Thursday? A win. So, kicking off the week, if you're feeling tired and overwhelmed and just beaten down, there are signs coming. Celebrate those successes and wins, no matter how small they seem. Because when you do that, it shifts your energy. Think about, I'm pausing a moment before I tell this story. There's, of course, that wonderful feeling that comes from having a to-do list and checking things off. But have you ever had a moment where you've been tested? And I think about this many, many a moon ago. I think it was like first or second, it was probably first grade. I was assisting in one of my kids' classes, and it was the reading day. And so I was sitting in the hallway, and the kids would come out one at a time, and they'd have to read this passage. And as they read the passage, you sat across from them. I don't have a pen here. And every time they got a word wrong, you'd cross it out. And you cross it out, and you cross it out, and you cross it out. And in my heart of hearts, and knowing energy and being able to read it as I do, I couldn't always follow that methodology because, and I understand it, and I get it. And the goal is to help the little ones learn how to read. And how will we know to read if we don't know what we don't know, and we're reading words incorrectly and the like? So, right, double-edged sword. But I also know myself, if someone's over there like, wrong, like I get nervous and I make more mistakes and I stop believing in myself. So this one little boy came out, and he was reading, and I knew he had difficulties with a lot of these words, and he was a little down on himself, a lot down on himself, and things were pretty tough in his environment. We'll just put it that way. And as he was reading, I couldn't cross off all the words. So I cross off a couple every now and then, but more so what I did was I remembered because it was a tiny little passage. I remembered which ones he got off so I could, circle and bring it to the teacher's attention so he could get the help he needed. But with that being said, as he was reading, his little eyes lit up and he said, oh my gosh, I've never gotten this many right before. Wow, this is so amazing. Like, it gave him hope, and it gave him the impetus and the desire to try and go for it. And we could celebrate the wins, and we could celebrate the ones he got correctly. And I could then mark the ones, later for the teacher to help work with him to go over. But here's the thing, is that when we're constantly being judged, and that judge is right there in our face, and most times it's us, our own mean inner critic, going, oh, why didn't you do this? Oh, I don't know about that. How about this? What about that? We're always beating ourselves up. Whew. It's like, take a hike right now. No, thank you. One of my favorite sayings is, take a long walk off a short pier. Have you ever heard that one? I giggle because a lot of my clients haven't heard that one. It seemed super familiar to me. But we go into humor. Humor and the laughter will break up the tension. It will break up the heaviness. And as you're going through this week, celebrate the wins, no matter how small, because it will give you hope. It will help you feel good as you're working towards your goal. Life is hard enough as it is. Celebrate the wins, even if it's like, woohoo, I made my bed today, or woohoo, I got out of bed. Woohoo, I did, I made a homemade meal, or I walked today in the sunshine. Celebrate the wins. Could be big wins too. And Jasmine, you say you love hanging yourself upside down. It wakes you up. Yes, most definitely. Very wonderful and stimulating for the mind. Okay, so Friday moon still in Cancer. It can be very emotional. So we're going to just take a moment to tune in and ask, how can you make the most of that moon? King of Pentacles. Now, this is cool because that Knight of Pentacles came up earlier in the week. And the King of Pentacles is like, okay, now I'm at the other side. All of that long-term vision stuff that I planted, I'm seeing the results. Now, is that going to happen in a couple of days? No, not necessarily. But here's what I want to say. Things that you've planted in the past, you might start to see them come to fruition. This is a moment of honoring your expertise, your levels of knowledge and awareness, and that it is a great day on Friday to really, if you're thinking about the new moon, we've been planting that idea and we're working towards investigating things, that you have the Midas touch, that you have that ability to make a difference when it comes to the actions you take and growing your prosperity and your abundance. So with Friday's energy, pay attention to the intuitive hits you get with that moon in Cancer. Pay attention to your feelings and see where your heart is drawing you. Because King of Pentacles says you are abundant and prosperous. You have had incredible success now and in the past. Take a moment to look for those stories. Remind yourself. And I think sometimes too, when we're comparing ourselves to someone else's path, especially if we're trying to learn a new business model, formula, workout plan, fitness plan, education plan, we can compare ourselves to others and their formulas might not fit us exactly. We might get frustrated thinking, oh, I'm no good at this and I keep trying and it's not working. Somewhere along the way, you've tweaked and you've created your own formulas and your own pathways, and you've created elements of success. And I want to invite you, look for those, remember those, find those. And maybe it's art that brings it back to you, by watching a movie, by reading a book, by seeing beautiful paintings, going out and hearing gorgeous live music, local musicians in your area. Or we have a beautiful farmers market here, and we have great buskers that play down in that area. Allow yourself to Have that art bring you back to yourself. I think a lot of times we get away from the gift that art brings us, whether it's us creating the art or us enjoying the artist in our life. It helps you connect back to your soul, and it helps you remember your successes and your wins. Okay, so Sunday, the moon moves into Leo. Maybe that's why I'm talking about the artist. Leo is the epitome of artistry. That there's a desire to be seen, to be in the light, to be presenting, and to lead. So I want to invite you, if there is something that you've been working up to, and that's Saturday's energy. Did I say Saturday? Saturday, the moon moves into Leo. You're going to want to shine. So take a time to do your hair up well, because a Leo mane is the best, and get out and be seen. See and be seen. I always think about, walking in the park, wait, time and time ago, many a moon ago, where people just would dress up and they'd walk in the park to see and be seen. All right, how can you make the most of Saturday's energy? The Fool. How cool. So we got the world on Monday, something's completing, and the next part of the story is coming in. So by Saturday, you're going to be ready to take that leap of faith. So where the struggle in making the decision of, I don't know which way to go, I don't have enough information, I don't have enough details, and you're hoping and wishing that it's all going to work out, and that's great. But we have to do something. We have to take action. So I want to invite you to decide, make a decision, or the decision will be made for you. Take that leap of faith. All right. Sunday moon's in Leo. How can you make the most of Sunday's energy? 10 of Wands. The hardest part is over. This is really cool too, because the 9 of Wands also started with the energy of the week. And this is wrapping, saying, okay, you finished the marathon. You got over the hill. You're still carrying a lot though. The new energy is coming in. Do you really want to bring all of this baggage, all of this weight with you into the next project? Maybe you want to just leave some at the foot of the hill, kind of like the marathon runners who leave their clothes as they run. Okay, thanks so much for being with me today. Have an incredible, incredible week. Much love to you all. Happy Memorial Day to our friends in the States, remembering all of our loved ones, all of those who have protected us and stood for us. So much love to all of you. Remember, trust your vibes, follow your heart, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Mwah. Much love. Bye-bye.